Ben Reilly, one of my favorite Spider-Man customs. Now this is the very first Storm Collectibles Spidey custom that I did. He was the original, he was the OG, he was the one that kick-started all these customs. I was like, I want a big, beefy version of Spider-Man, something more mature, something where Spider-Man is in his late 20s, nearly 30 years old, he's finished university, he's out on the streets. So this bigger proportions, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a hit or a miss. I was very speculative because of how expensive these figures were, and I was just like, I'm going to make one. And if I'm going to make one, I'm going to make Ben Reilly because he's my favorite Spider-Man design. You know, other than Superior Spider-Man, who is my all-time favorite character ever, Ben Reilly's costume overall is probably one of the best Spider-Man designs, if not the best. Simple red body, costume, spandex, belt, some web shooting devices, some more pouches. Pouches are always good. The 90s pouches is where it's at. Then we got more web cartridges on his belt. And then we got this blue hoodie that's in tatters with these big Marvel vs. Capcom eyes. Taken directly from this reference right here. I was basing it completely and utterly off this reference. So that's why he has the bigger eyes, and I just emphasized them even more because I love Marvel vs. Capcom. So that's kind of where that inspiration came from, just making those lenses ridiculously massive. So in terms of articulation, I mean, let's be honest, it's exactly the same as every other Spider-Man that I've shown off so far. He's got all the utilities that they have, you know, he is quite old, so breaking in those joints again. He's got that ankle articulation and everything. I'm not going to go through it too much. The articulation in the torso, very nice. And you can get these to match up, these spider legs, but it's a bit of a pain in the butt, so I just kind of have it like this. And again, he's got like the butterfly range. It's just everything I've already shown you before. It's very, very similar. And then, you know, the only difference is he has these extra bits and bobs here, and he's got this nice belt, and these float, they move around. And same for these float, they're nice floating pieces. So yeah, I normally have him posed with the open hands because I'm one of those guys that kind of just puts them on the shelf and they just kind of stand like this forever. But with that being said, I did make interchangeable hands. I made like a pointing finger, open relaxed pointing finger, web shooting hands, more open, relaxed, or wall crawling hands, whatever you want to call them. Again, open hands for wall crawling, and another web shooting hand. So it's all there. Oh, before I forget, he also has gripping hands. So yeah, he has a lot of variety when it comes to hands. And there's fist hands. He's got these punchy hands. So, you know, in terms of hands, he has a lot, and they can all be interchanged with, you know, every other Stone Spidey, which is fantastic. And you know what's really cool as well is I made a Spider Carnage, so these claw hands can be attached and you can make like a hooded version of Spider Carnage. Let's go see what we can do with that right. I should be able to interchange these parts, so let's give it a go. Let's just pop that wrist off. You can keep the, and now let's just pop this off.
5 minutes later.
So no, unfortunately these hands don't fit. I think I used McFarlane pegs and then I had to modify them because I needed red wrist pegs. So that's unfortunate, but I wonder if the head can be changed. Because I know they can go on there, but can the head be popped on and popped off? Give me a sec. This is an older custom, so I have got to be a little bit careful, but it should fit. Yeah, it does. I mean, it's way oversized. I wonder if the claw hand will fit. Hopefully it does. It's a lot larger and it's not a full pen. So let's see if I can get that on. Oh, it fits. Nice. Okay. So there you go. That's Ben Reilly Spider Carnage. That looks pretty menacing, right? Like the head is obviously massively oversized. It doesn't work, but kind of creepy looking, kind of weird, right? And it's all part of that fun factor, the playability with all the different parts that these guys have. And let's see what it looks like with this guy on here. Let's see if I can pop that on. Okay, so that head doesn't fit on there, which kind of sucks, but you can kind of have it resting. And there's the claw hand. I mean, that looks pretty cool. It's kind of like before he rages out, you know? I kind of dig that, honestly. It looks pretty cool. I like this one a lot. So even though this is a Storm Collectibles, you know, Symbiote Seeker height and scaling, and it doesn't match any other toy line really, I am going to show you guys Venom from Marvel Legends, and I still feel like that works pretty well. Even though it is the monster Venom, its scaling, in my opinion, is pretty nice, you know, Venom and Spider-Man. And with that being said, I think if I can rework this mold somehow and make it just slightly bigger, change the shoulders, I think I could make a really nice Venom for this display.
So as for Storm Collectibles customs, they don't work the same way that you would expect a normal custom to work. This soft plastic upper torso and crotch piece, majority of the time it's the torso that causes the most issues, just because it's connected to the lower body and the butterflies. Needs a lot of work, so the green stuff doesn't adhere to the body unless it's plugged. If you don't plug the green stuff and the plastic parts and do certain cuts and reshape and melting techniques, glue just doesn't cut it, they don't stick to these things. It requires a lot of effort. It doesn't necessarily work the way that most people assume it's going to work. You know, if I was to go in with Aves and try to smooth out that green stuff and layer it so it's actually flush to the body, you're still going to get cracking, you're still going to get peeling. It's problematic, for sure. The paints also. You can't use the same grey paint that you use on the harder plastic areas as you do on the soft plastic areas. They require two different paints. So if you'd like to know more about that, Patreon members have full access in gold tier. I always prime everything on these little clasps. Just makes everything easier. You're not touching anything, you're not putting your fingerprints in it, you're not ruining the paint job by holding it. It's just far easier. And priming also allows you to pick out all your imperfections, which you can go in, sand down, and just refine. Later on I like to add a bit of a zenithal, that way you get the grey and the white contrast, so that when you layer on your paints later, you get a multi-tone from the same colour. The rest of the parts needed to be primed grey, because red as a base tone is kind of tricky. I used the original reptile head and then resculpted it with milliputs and brown stuff. I don't use these sculpts anymore, they're very outdated methods. When the red is first applied through the airbrush, it looks absolutely phenomenal. Later on I did end up matting it all down. I did have issues. As always, there's some sort of issue with Storm Collectibles that is constant and reoccurring. I addressed it, I fixed the problem, but reapplying this red several times can be quite infuriating. If you are considering doing a Storm Collectibles custom, I would highly advise that you focused primarily on removing paint rub in this particular area. It is so sensitive, the plastic is so fragile and so light that it is so delicate to get the fine balance of prep and over prep and under prep completely down to a T. Man, it's that all the joints seem to have some sort of hurdle. It's not a walk in the park. It's by far the hardest articulation to get to a point of paint rub free. It's not foolproof. You're going to have constant trials and tribulations that test and break you over and over and over. Like I said before, red can be quite difficult to apply evenly, nice and smoothly. So every time there was an imperfection, I would sand it down, reapply the grey primer, and then either hand paint or use the airbrush over and over and over and over again until it was perfect. I have to say, you do start to question your mental health at this point. Now I'm using the reptile hands, but they obviously have all this Mortal Kombat ninja armor all over them. So I needed to remove that. Now, because it's soft plastic, when you sand it, it has tons of imperfections and it kind of looks like it's burned. That's another hurdle you have to kind of overcome with Storm. You can't sand the outside, it ruins the sculpt. That you can, but it requires melting techniques and other bits and bobs that I can't get into this video because I'd be chatting all day. But basically, you get it as good as this. You can see they're like imperfect. Some of them have even burnt through to the other side via the Dremel. Again, because these are really smooth. So I patched it with green stuff. Now green stuff doesn't plug into soft plastic unless there is a hole to plug into, and then it still doesn't stay perfectly flush with the body. So what you do is you apply a flexible or semi-flexible resin over the top of the entire soft plastic area once it's been painted, and then you apply a matte sealer and paint it again. That way everything looks flush, nice and smooth. Now, considering this guy was the first Storm Collectibles Spider-Man custom that I've ever made, this guy turned out incredibly well. I am very, very proud of this custom. Now, I would like to go in and rework it a little bit later. Maybe change the hoodie to match a more modern aesthetic due to the Spider-Verse movie, kind of highlighting a little bit more character to the design. Maybe some cell shading, who knows. But that's in the future, guys. Thank you so much to the Patreon members. As always, you guys are amazing. Thank you. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll catch you on the next one.